Okay. Hey y'all. Welcome, 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 welcome. So we are segueing because you guys know that I am returning to YouTube and not YouTube. I'm returning to TikTok. And therefore, when I return to TikTok, what I'll be doing is double streaming. So I'll be streaming my TikTok shows for you guys to join in on those. Um, let me add in Pearl. So I'll be streaming TikTok shows for you guys to join in on those and those panels and whatnot. And you guys know that my content on TikTok is primarily women's issues, primarily mainstream news from a woman's point of view, and with a cut of womanism and feminism and all of those different things to it. So we are starting the shift and the segue. I think we're really only going to do like the sector, shenanigans maybe once a week, Pearl, right?
Yes, once a week, honey.
Yeah.
Yes, once a week.
We're going back to content because
Yes, yes, we
we
are.
we done had enough of toxicity. We done had enough of the toxicity, and we got to start building in the
Yeah.
direction that we really want to be in, that we really want to go in and do the things that we really,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy doing. And talking about the things we really enjoy talking about, and we're really good at still like squeezing jewels out of fuck shit though. Like we're good at that.
We definitely are. We always try to make a message out of a mess.
We always try to make a message out of a mess. Because somewhere in here there's a message.
There
So,
is. It is. We
in
learn
the
from
shift and
everything.
transition, yeah. People just get in where you fit in, but we'll be building it up and cross marketing. And also too, make sure you guys are dropping the channel of Life of Pearl um for her YouTube channel, and then also for her TikTok as well. So um
Thank you.
I got a
Appreciate
really
it.
interesting comment. Like I got a really interesting comment from Orlando Evans Ministries TV. I think that's his name. And so he said that there was a woman named Princella that did a show that was saying that women need to stay away from all men. Okay. Um, and basically just that men don't mean anybody well, mean women any good. Okay. Um, so I was just like, that seemed rather extreme. I was like, there, and you know what? Like, oftentimes on TikTok, when I'm doing my TikTok commentary and doing my TikTok shows, I have guys that'll come to me all the time. You're discouraging women from being with men, and I'm like, no. I'm trying to show women how to choose better because there is a choose better movement. And I don't think that men really know that there is this movement. So it's not about the, I got lonely just thinking of that. We have a lot of men that we love and that we're fond of. So I just don't see why I was like, that's definitely radical misandry at its finest. Okay. Because
Yes.
misandry, real quick, misandry is
Mhm.
contempt for men. Okay. Feminism is about women's rights. Okay. So
Mhm.
people often get those mixed up. And if you say anything of a constructive criticism towards men, they think it's misandry. That also is not misandry. Misandry is literally a person who hates men. That is what a misandrist is. Okay.
Yes, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And also, I just feel this idea has came that we're pushing that women don't need men anymore, and I think it's more so because we are also learning more of our feminine powers, and we're
Mm-hmm.
tapping more into that and understanding the power that we have just being a female and loving on ourselves more, because when we love on
Mm-hmm.
ourselves more we choose better. We're taking time to heal from our childhood traumas, our core wounds
Mm-hmm.
that we developed in other relationships. And so when we are healed, we'll automatically throw up some boundaries that be like, oh no, you're on some ish and I'm out of here. Instead of like
Mm-hmm.
2, 3 years passing by, we lose everything, our dreams are shot down. Now we're depressed and we have to build it back up. Now we're noticing it 30 days in. Blocked. Go ahead.
Block out of there. Gotta go.
Yes, gotta
I don't
go.
think that women should stay away from men. I think that women really have to qualify men better.
It's
Okay.
all
Because with all people, everybody that comes around you doesn't mean you any well. And I think that we see that all the time on YouTube. We see people fall into these same traps. I mean, women can literally see a snake with a penis and still pick it up and kiss it. They
oh
can.
god.
I'm like, that is a snake with a penis. Put it down. But they won't.
I
And
mean, the
I just
snake
throw
will
my
be
hands
hitting
up and I'm
that
just like,
trying to
what
kill
are you?
and everything, and they're still like, "Oh no, this is my
These
man."
women will kiss Michael Myers and he just because he has a penis. Like, what are
Out of
y'all doing?
out of control. It's out of control. But it's also learning how to be by ourselves for a period of time. I had
Mhm,
to sit back like when I hit my middle 30s and I realized I've been in a relationship ever since I was 19. Relationships will definitely make you lose your identity just as a person in general. And then
mhm,
add toxic, childhood environments, add society, add just, life, being a woman, being a black woman, sometimes, not sometimes, being a black woman on top of that. It's just a lot of things that we go through as we're also dating. And I had to really take a period, like about 2 years of just being by myself. Like, it's hard. The first couple of months, of course, was hard, but once you learn being able to be by yourself and learn who you are, you have a
mhm.
hard time letting toxicity in. I mean, you have a hard time. It's almost like you're like, let me just get some cats and I'll be okay.
From anybody though, like toxicity from anybody. I
From
think the first
anybody,
place that we
friends,
like literally
family.
experience toxicity is either in a family ship or like a friendship. I think that's like the
There it
first
is.
place that we kind of go across this and we're just like, but we didn't know that it was toxic. And
We
when I think
didn't.
about like childhood, I'm like, man, we were really conditioned to be like the perfect abuse victims. Like we were really conditioned to be able to tolerate these things. Like imagine someone physically assaulting you and then telling you don't cry and you bet not cry after I just physically assaulted you.
Man, that is
That prepares you for someone knocking your head between the washers or dryers, and that's why I'm a non-whooping parent. I get a lot of shit for it, but I'm like, I'm not going to teach, my kids to be perfect abuse victims. They can't
no.
experience this and say that, well, this is something okay, or we physically assault them and then say, oh well, I love you though. No, no, you don't. But then I'm going to tell you, hey, you shouldn't be with men who beat on you, but your parents beat on you,
This
right?
is true.
It's those simple little things that you have to really think about logically and say, what is the message that I'm sending here? And what am I co signing my children to think are okay? But before you can even get to the place of men being the ops, you got to consider the ops that you had early on in life.
This is true. This is very true because but I also see I'm a little different. I do believe in a little ass whipping. Okay? I was raised with a little ass whipping. I think there's a balance of it. And I think there's also
Mm-hmm,
communication that needs to go with it. What our
mm-hmm,
parents lack to do. Now, I will it has to be an extreme situation because of how it was so toxic with, getting ass whippings and the when you have parents who are in a older era. So I used it to where it had to be an extreme situation. But even when I used it, after I did that, I would sit them down and explain to them why I felt I needed to do that as a parent, like what scared me about the situation, what I was trying to protect them from, and let them know that this is just compartmentalize this situation and don't help them work through the emotions. Just as a parent, like, it scares me, I'm trying to protect you, but also give me your feelings and when I have to do these things to you. So I think it helps them work through those emotions, because some things you got to be like, no, that's like, you can't do that, so it would have to be very dire situations where they're putting themselves in a dangerous situation where I will use um, punishment
mm-hmm,
as whooping.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
Do you think that sometimes, and sometimes still, I think that coming from like certain childhood patterns, I think that sometimes women are attracted and gravitate towards relationships that abuse them.
oh, that's a definite fact. I was raised with a very unemotional, available. My mom lacked emotions. She
Mm-hmm,
showed her emotions through putting us in private school. putting food on, food in our stomachs, clothes on our bed, clothes on our backs, but nothing emotional. And I took me a long time to understand. And she was my main provider. My dad
Mhm.
was there, but he was out of the home. So when your main provider hurts you, but also takes care of you at the same time, it can really have a damaging effect on your adult relationship. So I kept attracting men that just didn't show emotions at all. And I realized because I was used to that chaos. So
Mhm.
when I would have a man that was tapped into his emotions, I was like, you're crazy and I got to get away.
It's bad. It's bad when like healthy relationships scare the shit out of you. But I can really
Promise,
relate to
thank
that
you.
because I felt the same way. Like literally, it's like
Mhm.
this is not dysfunctional enough for me to
Exactly.
really be comfortable. Sometimes we are really comfortable in like hell and chaos. Like we are cool with that shit,
Yeah.
and we are comfortable with stress and strain and struggle. So even just like hearing that point, stay away from the men. There are men that are the fucking ops, but most importantly, I think that women have to understand that sometimes we're our own op. We're our biggest op.
We are. We are.
And yeah, and that we have to like understand our own like self-sabotaging sort of behaviors and self-sabotaging things that we do, you know, because we could be fearful avoidant. I love the post that you posted today.
Yes.
We could be
Yes.
fearful avoidant, you know, we could
Mhm.
really have a anxious attachment
Mhm.
in some ways. And so how we respond in relationships and in situations that build, you know, emotional intimacy and that are building ourselves with someone else is kind of like the scariest shit that we can ever
Yeah.
do. But I was raised that when things scare you, you should walk towards it, not away from it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I want to go towards it and investigate it, which is sometimes not the best idea because I be looking like Caucasian people in horror movies.
That's a
Hello?
fact.
Is anybody there?
Man.
So
Okay.
sometimes I'm like exploring shit, and then it's like, bitch, there goes Jason, you know? Like, oh, wow.
Right. Right. Yes. I mean, because I'm a Scorpio, so we love the things that's under the world, like the taboo
Mhm.
topics, the things everybody want to hide. We were like, oh, this is so. I went to places that I probably shouldn't have visited, but it just intrigued me.
Yeah.
But in the process, because I was empath at the same time, I was attracting like toxic. And just Jess, I love your comment. Can you put that up for us? Because that exactly, I suffered this a lot in my relationships until building off of Jazzy, because she had said earlier about fearful avoidant, and that is another maybe show we can have, because there are four different types of attachment styles when it comes to our relationship. And there's
Mhm.
anxious attachment, there's fearful avoidant attachment, there is dismissive avoidant, and there's preoccupied anxious attachment. So I fall in between a fearful avoidant and an anxious avoidant. And
Mhm.
it's pretty much
Same.
from like what me and Jess went through. I didn't have a mom that showed affection. So when people would show me affection, I switched to like my fearful avoidance side. Like I had to get away from them. And then, but
Uh-huh.
I crave a connection. I love, even though I grew up with a very cold mom, I love to connect with people on a deeper level. And it could be my Scorpio placement all through my chart, but I like to get deep. I'm very intense. And so when they wouldn't give me that, then I became anxious. So I kind of teeter
Mhm.
totter between those, and learning, when you become securely attached, you learn to kind of balance yourself. But that is, I used to hear this so much in my relationships from men, like, you do not like affection. But what helped me work on that was having children. Like I would really program myself to reach out to them and hug them and say
Mhm.
I love you. And it was awkward at first because I didn't have a mom that taught me how to do it, but I just was like, I don't want my children to have this fear in them of affection, because my mom didn't hug us. Like I count on one hand how much time she actually gave us a hug and was just like, I love you. Her I love yous was like, here's your food, here's your clothes, and put you to best of schools. She made sure I traveled around the world, but it was never physical.
I think that sometimes storm people because here's the thing about and even just being like huge card carrying member of woman's fear. and
Yes.
I work with so many women, sometimes I realize that sometimes people are giving advice from their trauma.
Very
Okay.
much so.
Something could have happened, a relationship, because you have to be mindful that all of these women are still dating. They're still
Mhm.
doing things in their life that is off camera that we don't see. And so they can get into a ways that then turns them into like a feminazi radical misandrist. And that doesn't have a space in the women's movement, because I think that it's detrimental for one to have people, because I just think hate makes you stupid and you shouldn't really be moving in any form of hatred of really anything. Um, in that way. I think that what women need is really wisdom about the men that they're going to choose to be with, and the women and the men that they're going to have in their life. And also the understanding too that not all women can sit at the table as well. And when I see certain things, I'm like, hey, because even with my TikTok content, because I do a lot of talking about my community more so than I talk about other people's community. So people will say to me, Jazzy, you have a problem with black men. And then they'll be confused because I'm engaged to a black man. Okay. And it's like,
Mhm.
I don't hate black men. However, I know that so many of my sisters are going to go out here and who you're going to be having relationships with most often are black men. So you have to be able to understand what you're dealing with. But I don't want women to get into a place where they're so scared they don't try, and that
Exactly. It's about just having discernment.
yeah, that they fear this sort of thing. Because let me
Mhm.
tell you something, you attract things in a state of fear too that
Yeah.
isn't positive.
Yeah.
Okay. So that we have to understand, and the things we say to ourselves, because we can manifest negatively over our own love life. Okay. And we
Yeah.
can curse our own love life because we think that everything is this way, everybody is this way, this is how things are, and now we're telling ourselves a story that inevitably we will bring into fruition. So I don't think Princella should really, I'm just like, why? I don't think that's something that you should say. If anything, what you should do is just give content that shows women how to be able to spot these bad apples and to stay
Mhm.
away from these bad apples. And not only just that, how to spot a bad apple and how to spot a good apple. And I'll have men who will say, well, why don't you do content talking about good men? Because you motherfuckers will morph into a good man and you're not that. And then you'll use that to then go and manipulate women because you think that's what women are looking for. So, I think, Pearl, when I do the conversations about good men, that's something we're probably going to put under like membership only content. So at least if these dudes want to fucking transform, they got to pay us for it, right?
Let us get our
They gonna pay
coin.
us for that. We was not gonna give
Okay.
y'all the keys to the queendom for free.
No, we
You
can't
gonna
do
pay us
that.
that $6.99.
No, no, we can't do that. No, we can't.
We
But I
can't do
mean,
that.
the thing is, I feel like, yes, I mean, toxic men are highlighted more than the good men, but it's the majority. I'm sorry, there's more toxic men out here than there is good men, and it's very sad to say.
Yeah.
As women, I would say it's 50-50. There's very much
Mhm.
as much toxic men.
Oh,
There's
wait, you
much
said
toxic women.
50-50. I'm giving it
I would
sixty
say about
forty.
you're probably right. You're probably right. I would say they
I'm giving it
outnumber.
50-50.
Yeah, I would say they outnumber, and we are the ones that birth. We carry children. So
Mhm.
if we're toxic, then we are the ones that are creating other toxic human beings.
No, they
So
ain't
a
ready for
lot of
that.
that, they're not ready for that.
They're not ready for
So
that conversation.
we will talk about as much as we talk about men. We will talk about women because as
Mhm.
long as the women keep being toxic and protecting the toxic men, this is what we're going to have to deal with. So I feel like we have to tackle one thing at a time. And that's just kind of what we're doing. A lot of these women are given advice from a very unhealed place. I'm big on don't give me any
Pro
kind of
men
advice.
advice pro men advice is coming from an unhealed place from some of these women. It's like some of these male identified, like pick me ass women. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
of that shit's coming from an unhealed place too.
yeah.
And some of this anti men stuff is also coming from an healed place. You have to have a balanced approach to things because it's not a one size fits all. There's various different situations, there's various different factors and variables. And I think that
Hmm.
sometimes people want like this clear, concise list, but it's not a clear, concise list because there's different things that are taking place. And some of these guys could be great guys if they worked on their fucking traumas.
That's
So
it. Go heal. Go
and
heal.
worked
Men
on it,
and
go
women.
heal. Go
Men and
heal. Like
women.
go heal. Get out the dating pool. Get out the freaking dating pool. Stop pissing in the dating pool. Okay. Get up out of there and go heal. Same for those
Hmm.
who are in relationships. Just because a person's in a relationship doesn't mean that their relationship isn't toxic. Like I think that sometimes people get in relationships and then they want to tout themselves as like a relationship guru and they got all kinds of freaking issues too. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
got problems. So not everybody's relationship is couples goals. And I'm glad I feel like
Mm-mm.
this year that's something we're going to talk about a lot is these different couples, through the gaze of celebrities and the
Hmm.
celebrity talks
Oh
is
yeah.
that we're seeing that. Yeah.
Especially these
Mm-mm.
black men who want to come speak to us black women. Go speak to the black men.
Right.
Derek Jackson. Okay, he was
Yeah.
a fraud. You see what I'm saying? Like, I give men the side eye that want to come talk to the women. There is plenty
Mm-hmm.
of broken men out here, and if you go help
Mm-hmm.
them, we'll help the women. Yeah, they leave the women to us. But again, I feel the type of women he attracted were male identified women
Mm-hmm.
because you got to show your life some shape or form to me in order for you to tell me as a man how
Mm-hmm.
other men should be good men. You know, like you never seen his wife. Like these are things that as women we need to pay attention to. When you see a man out here, even if he is promoting for the black women, sometimes you need to look on the other side of that because that can be a trap in itself. And then all
Mm-hmm.
he's creating is more male identified women, you know. So I don't know. I feel
We had that
like
conversation with Coolin, and her panel had went to this place where there was this guy who came up there, DJ Craig, and he went through his whole little spiel, that they like to do. I've been married for 30 years, got 3 kids. That does not make you a good man. I don't know
mm-mm.
why. To me, when I see men do that, it's like that's my like the token black friend, like the white
What's
person that's accused of being racist, and they say I have black friends. No, just because you had a wife for 30 years does not mean you were actually treating a woman appropriately for 30 years. Just
what?
because you have your children doesn't mean you were actually treating your children appropriately for their lives. Like that doesn't mean anything and that doesn't say anything to me.
No,
You
it
need to
does.
tell me how, when you're giving me your resume, you need to say like your belief systems, like your thought processes and your ideology. Like, yeah, I think that women should be treated equally in this way and that way. I'm more impressed by that than a person saying, "Oh, I have had a wife for 30 years." Like, who cares?
Yeah,
Like,
who
who
cares?
cares? Because
Tell them
people can be
how.
married for 30 years, cheating on their wife, knocking her head between the washers and dryers. Hell, I think abusive relationships last longer than anybody's than like low level bullshit relationships, because women are really, abuse has a hold on you. So you could be with someone for 30 years that's treating you like dog shit. Anybody
Yeah,
who watches true crime knows this.
that's a fact because they lose their self identity, they lose their self esteem, so they feel like I can't get any better. This is the worst. We start to blame ourselves as women when we're in abusive relationships that I had to do something for this to happen. So
Uh-huh.
I need you to tell me how you communicated with your wife. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
How was your communication skills? How do you guys
right.
deal with conflict? Like, give me some tips so I could pick your brain. But telling me you were married for 30 years, I seen my parents married for 30 years. It was the most toxic relationship I ever seen in my life.
Pearl, I'm going to answer this question. I have a
Okay.
question. How can two women that have so much failure in life and relationships give credible advice from experience?
From
From
experience,
experience. From
snake
experience.
eyes.
A person who hasn't really experienced life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, really can't tell you shit. Like a person can tell you something if they say, "Oh, I was with an abuser and this is the certain things that happened in this relationship
Yep.
and this is how abusers work." I tell people I have a PH fucking D in toxic dudes and narcissists because I've experienced every freaking one that exists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can't tell me about something that I actually know inside and out from on the field, on the ground, boots on the ground experience. Oh, I know
But
that inside and out,
yeah,
inside and out. And through those, people sometimes also, I think, expect life to be this straight line. Life is not a straight line. There's a lot of zigzags, curves, twists, loop de loops that happen in life. And those are the things that you learn from. Life having negative experiences isn't a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if you don't learn anything from it.
that's
But if
right.
you're learning from these things, right,
Hmm.
then from there you're able to kind of give that wisdom. But wisdom doesn't come from being perfect. That's not where wisdom comes from. Wisdom comes from actually going down and through that.
That's a
You go ahead,
fact.
girl.
And just to build off of that, because even some women, even though some women will have experiences, they don't learn from them. So you have to, you must have just tapped in, Snake Eyes, and we love that you wanted to join the conversation today. But just to catch you up, because earlier we've also added what our mistakes was and what we learned from it and where we are now. So if you don't hear people give you a contrast on where they was to where they are now, they're not talking about healing and what to look for, what they did wrong, and what they see that they learned from why they responded to certain situations. Then no, they can't really give advice. But I think every time me and Jazzy do have a build, we try to give what we learned from it and what we experience. Like, we admit we made these mistakes, and sometimes I don't like I can't listen to someone that has never experienced what I've experienced. Just like when I was looking for a therapist, I went to go look for another black woman because another white woman would not be able to relate with me on what it is to be a black woman in America. So there's certain experiences I needed that therapist to have in order for her to even give me advice.
Yes, because that's why therapists, in order to become therapists, actually have to get therapy. Um, it's
Thank you.
important. Like that's actually a part of their whole entire thing to get their degree. So the therapist has to get therapy, and most therapists decide to become therapists because they've experienced trauma in their life somewhere.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Hmm.
that's what creates their desire to want to help people with various different things.
Yep.
And I don't think that either of us make the same mistake over and over again. I know for me in my life, in my relationships, I always tried something different. That's the thing. Like always in life, I always try to figure out what is a new angle. Okay, I learned this. I'm going to avoid this. And then I'll go, meet a guy and he's different. So that's how I learned that nice guys can be crap. Bad boys can be crap. The Pookies and Ray Rays can be crap. Guys that are literally making six figures and suit and tie can be crap. Okay. White guys can be crap. Black guys can be crap. Like anybody can be crap. But from each of those like different relationships, I learned something different that
Hmm.
I didn't know. Not just about other people, but also about myself too.
Period.
And
That's right.
that's the thing. That's where that's the sweet spot. That's the money spot. When
Yeah.
you're starting able, and also I believe this. I believe um, God does not give people zero fucking experience if they're not supposed to do anything with it. Everybody has like a different purpose in life, right? Some of the best pastors that I've ever met in my life come from doing crack for 25 years.
I'm trying to
Okay.
tell you.
You know what I'm saying? Like some
Mhm.
some some folk come out of prison, it spent their life in and out of prison, in and out of prison, and they
Mhm.
got a whole damn testimony that shakes rooms and moves tables.
But those are the
People
only.
look for a person that they think can say this or say that, but that person who has been through this and that and this and that, 9 times out of 10, has more wisdom than you. Okay. And definitely knows what they're talking about because they've been there. And also, would you want to relate to a person? Would you want to hear from a person who could not relate to anything that you've been through? Nothing.
Absolutely
If
not.
you are
Period.
a woman and you're trying to figure out how to get your life in a particular space, do you want to hear from a person who cannot relate to nothing? They can't relate to having an ain't shit baby daddy. They can't relate to having a DV experience. Okay, they can't relate to coming from a seedy background. They can't relate to him. They can't relate to hanging out in the streets or being in the church. They can't relate to anything. The only thing they're telling you, what are they going to tell you? Shit from a textbook?
But it's even
They're gonna
even
tell
on.
you things from their perfect life that they really don't actually know how they got. They ain't got no skin in the game. No, you want to hear from somebody that got some skin in the game. And
Yeah,
this is why us people that people think shouldn't talk, because I grew my platform to 17.5K on TikTok. 17.5K. I've had women tell me that a lot of their life has changed from listening to me. Why? Because maybe I know a little bit about a thing or two or a thing or two. I don't know everything, but I know a lot about a thing or two or a thing or two. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true. I mean, it's just like most social workers
Wait.
were.
Are you unsuccessful in your finances over the age of 35? Because I ain't even 35 yet. Are you, Pearl? Because I don't think that you're unsuccessful.
No. Would you like to come pay my rent? It's $2,000 a month, Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
Any funds you would like to support us with? Moving right along. So, like I was saying, social workers, most social workers were children who were in an abusive environment. Most CPS
Mhm.
workers,
And
most
foster care.
foster care, most some police officers grew up in very toxic environments, and so when you see a lot of people in these careers where they are hands on with the community and they want to help, children, or they're doctors, maybe they had someone that was sick in their life that they had to take care of, and so that person passed, and now they want to go and take care of other people. Most people in certain careers have that experience. So all they really went to college for was to learn the textbook definition, but in reality, they normally don't use most of that stuff when it comes to the real world. That's why teachers
Mhm.
nowadays, unless they were in a home where they didn't eat before they went to school, you notice those teachers that go out of their way, go the extra mile, come and knock on doors, see where you live in, talk to the parents. Those are ones that went through very traumatic childhood experiences.
I think
So,
Snake Eyes is like right where they need to be, though. Because honestly, for all they know, they actually don't know how many people actually became millionaires in their
thank
40s.
you.
That's true. Like they don't know. They don't know how many women accomplish things. I mean, think J.K. Rowling was a single mother who was on welfare in the UK.
And the reason
Wrote
why
a
is
book.
because you're
Said,
learning.
hold on. J.K. Rowling was denied by every single major publisher. She's one of my favorite artists because you guys know I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. She was in a DV relationship, single mom. Just went through like the most hand to mouth, hand to mouth. She was working as a server and then also as like a seamstress. And a little publishing company named Bloomberg, I think is what it's called, believed in her book. And now J.K. Rowling is literally, I think she's worth a billion now. From her Harry Potter series and the movie franchise and all of those different things. So yeah, you'd be really surprised. Actually, and remember, Oprah didn't get big and famous until she was in well into her 30s too.
I mean, because that's when you usually find yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do at 20, you might not want to do at 30. So it's like you're going through life. There's levels to life. And I don't know why it's society and social media, especially, that makes it feel like we have to have all these things. Because my daughter's 22 and she feels like she needs to have a mansion, two Lexuses sitting in the driveway,
They like
her
they're
career.
stressing
You're making a hundred.
themselves
I'll be like,
out.
you're 22.
They be
Slow it
stressing
down.
themselves out
God,
over these things.
Patty,
Slow it
you
down,
don't even
okay?
know
Slow it
yourself.
down.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Social media has made them feel like they have to have their whole life by 19.
Mhm.
It's unrealistic. Yep, look at Jay Z.
Yes, she was 30 when she finished the book, and then she spent some years trying to shop it. I think it didn't get into publishing until like a couple years later.
Look at her
So she was, yeah, look at her now.
now.
Yeah. And so it's a lot of different things. And also with for black women, like in the hair care vendor industry, so many have become millionaires that are single moms from literally just selling hair and makeup. Like
Yep.
it's a lot of really wonderful stories.
Mhm.
And really, really interesting backgrounds. That's why I say I love to read autobiographies. People should really read autobiographies. I tell you this, guys, I tell y'all this all the time. Read autobiographies. When you read autobiographies, you learn a lot from these people of the different things that they experience. Even what's his name? Michael, I can't remember his name. He had one of my favorite books. And it's called How to Be Happy. Dang, what is his name? He's the ex football player that now works with the news network. He has the gap in the middle. Him, his book is absolutely amazing because he tells of all the failures. He tells of him growing up and him going through, like, he was like the big kid. He was like a little fat kid, and people used to tease him and all this different stuff, and how he worked really hard to like lose the weight. And then as he's going through all these different like milestones in his life of just all kinds of struggle to reach here and there. And then after he played football and now he was no longer playing football, people were like, what are you going to do next? And they just thought he was just going to be old and washed up. And he reinvented himself as a media personality. And so even his bag he gets now is bigger than the bag he got when he was a football player. And people thought that was going to be the height of who he was, you know? So, I mean, really get into those type of things, because if you ever need motivation, if you ever doubt that you could do anything or that something's like not for you, read a good autobiography.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, read those. I mean, I'm telling you, they tell you some things. Even in their interviews, they
Mhm.
tell you some things. Even people I thought that, I'm like, well, this guy's just a rapper and he ain't got nothing to say. And he might be a little seedy personality too, but Kevin Gates says some really amazing
Oh,
things.
I was just
And
getting ready to say that.
Kevin Gates is pretty
Mhm.
profound in some of the things that he says in regards to like mental health and how the world works and things like that. I make sure whenever I see an interview come from him, I listen to it, just because he just has so
I
much
wish
to
he
say
would
from
write a book.
experience. Yeah.
I really wish he would write a book. I would definitely.
Yeah, he needs to write a book. He
Yes,
does.
he does. He
He
does.
a lot of these rappers need to write a book. Like
Mhm.
these interviews they be doing. 21 Savage, great interviews coming from 21
Yes. Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
And, like, yeah, but I think that also, and we stay away from that. This thought of perfection. Let me tell you guys something. You don't have to be perfect, and that's why I love representing the demographic that I that I represent,
Mhm.
especially being a single mom. You know how many times people told me that I would never find someone who would love me. I'd never find someone who'd want to marry me. I'd never find someone who would take care of me and do this and that. And I did just that.
That's a
I
fact.
did. I did just that. So when you guys got to be careful listening to these people. Don't listen to shit that these people say. To
Mhm.
be honest. To be
Yeah.
honest, because nobody can really, no one can speak for another person. There are billions of people out here. There's billions of men out here, and all of them do not think the same way. One
No.
guy can see a single mom and say she's trash, and another person can see a single mom and say she's a treasure.
And
Okay, so yeah,
it's also
go ahead,
about us
bro.
changing up our environment as women. We can't think we're going to find a good man in a healthy environment. Sometimes we have to
Mhm,
switch up where we go out to eat at, where we go out to
mhm.
work out at. I mean, just changing up what's around us. You will meet some people, and that's why I love to travel. I feel like travel is also a different way of learning and education, and it helps with experiences. You meet people from all different walks of life. And
Mhm.
being that my parents were not, they're foreigners, it kind of raised me with a different mindset than the average African American, just because when you come from a very low poverty country, it makes you have a different mindset of being more grateful and just knowing that not everyone is going to look like you and respond like you. And a lot of things is just from culture too.
I know that's right, Nene. Because we will still get a little crunk
Yes,
around here at the pink table. Like, we will still get a little crunk sometimes. But
yeah.
no, seriously. So I always say this to these women all the time about different stuff. Because they will buy into these things that they're hearing from like Manosphere and Red Pill
Ooh,
and these. First of all, those guys are not the guys for you anyway.
at all.
Okay, because I have a saying, and that saying is rejection is God's protection.
Mm,
Okay,
mm.
rejection is God's protection. 9 times out of 10, you go down the line, you see some woman that guy did marry, and he made her miserable for 10 years of her life. Okay, he took her down and through there. Okay,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
that's something that you have to understand. Sometimes when I see these guys say these things, how can you do this or how can you do that? There's been plenty of things that I have gotten in social media that people thought I didn't deserve to have. Plenty of things. Plenty of things. When I grew my first Nature Boy channel and I was sitting at 8K subs in 6 months, people thought I didn't deserve that because I'm just some little dingy single mom in the projects. Okay. But what they don't know is that talent and that light over you is yours. And what God has for you, God has. They can't touch that. They cannot touch that. They can't do anything with it. I went over to TikTok. People thought I wasn't going to make it there, and boom, there. I boomed there, been posted by celebrities, got people who want to do collabs. I mean, what you have is what you have. And the people who don't understand it are not your kind of people. They're not your kind of people. We don't want people who think so limited in their way of thinking. If you think that a person's culmination of life is 35 when they have literally 50 to 60, 70 more years of living, something's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something's wrong with you because ain't no way, ain't no way. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. So learning how and also that brings me to another thing that's so important too, to talk about that too, Pearl, is the fact that there is a need. People have a need to tear down Black women's sense of self, to tear down the way that Black women see themselves, and to tear down Black women's self-esteem. There is actually a legitimate agenda for this shit. People hate for women of color, especially, to have a smidget of self-esteem, a smidget of beauty, a smidget of intelligence, a smidget of brilliance. Hell, they hate for you to have $20 more than them in your bank account. They hate it. Can't stand it. Okay. So understanding that too, when you see it, like, yeah, you're going to be mad. And you're going to be upset. And one day, our little conversations that we're having here on Pink Table Talk we're going to be sitting with 1K in the damn chat.
That's a fact we
I'm
are
telling you what I know.
manifesting
We're
at.
going to be sitting with 1K in the chat. We're going to be sitting with 2K in the chat. And people are going to be like, how the fuck did they do that shit?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
we kept going no matter what the fuck a
Yes.
motherfucker say.
And
That's
that's
why.
it. And they definitely hate a confident Black woman, Nene. And because number one reason why is because we have already we know how to survive, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And once we tap into our power of not surviving but living, honey,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the Black community in a whole, we know how to survive. We will make something shake. We don't
Mm-hmm.
jump off the bridges. We don't take out the whole family if we lose our job. If we got to sell t-shirts, we got to sell fruits. We will figure out a way. So having that skill already built in survival, man, it's powerful once we learn our confidence. And it's because we live in survival all the time why we struggle as Black women to live in our confidence.
My granny said, "You ain't done till you're done."
Okay.
That's what my granny said. My granny said, "You are not done until you are done." Okay, it ain't over till it's over, and somebody is lowering you into a grave or got you on a autopsy table. Okay,
Not
it's not
done.
done until it's done. Till your last breath leaves your body, it's not done.
Mhm.
There's so many really inspirational people on TikTok. There's this woman I was telling Pearl about on the phone the other day, and they call her one of the grandmas of TikTok, and she is very well known. I cannot remember her name right now. She's like literally in her 90s, and she is living her best freaking life. Her best life. I think it's Grandma Edna or something like that is her name, and she has like 1 million plus on TikTok. And she said she always wanted to be famous. She went and lived her life, did all that different stuff. But she had this post kind of celebrating her crossing that 1 million. She said, "They said I was never going to be famous and they said I was too old. Look at me now." Look at me now. And I
Mm.
was like, you go, grandma. Like, you
On a
freaking
mission.
go, man. Like, that's the type of stuff that I see that like just gives me motivation all the time. Like, it ain't over till it's over. And that woman is
Mhm.
just living her life and crossing things off her bucket list of things that people told her was not possible for her, that would never happen for her. And between God and social media said no. Okay, said no, you better do the damn thing, granny. Okay, so
Yes.
I just love that. I love that.
Yes, yes. That's a fact, Wanda. I'm very big on telling my friends that when they come to me, like, he's doing this. I'll be like, he is doing what you allow him to do. I'm like
Facts.
so big on that. So if you allow it, can I be mad at him or you?
Mhm.
Like, I
Well, yeah.
mean,
Sometimes it says sometimes the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting
yeah,
different results.
I'm just
Okay.
saying.
I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
sometimes in some situations, yeah, they're worth working on it and like fixing it if it can be fixable. But like at a certain point, it's
Mm-mm.
like, you just like this type of stuff. Like this what you like. So I ain't even what can I tell you now? Right? Because
Yes.
if you don't want to break the chains and the bondage that has you tied to like this toxic relationships, what I'm gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what am I
Mm-hmm.
and women have to learn how to find comfort in other things outside of men. They
Mm.
do. Because sometimes it's just like I think of the movie Precious
Mm-hmm.
where Monique had that scene where she was talking to Mariah Carey, the social worker, and she's like, "You think you know everything, but who was gonna love me? Who was gonna hold me at night?" That's not what all life is cracked up to be,
Not at
right?
all. Not at
And,
all.
someone holding you is not worth 40 days and nights of tears is not worth one moment in the sun. It's
Mm.
not.
Mm-mm.
It's not worth that. If I can't be in the sun, okay, for 29 days out of 31, I'm not gonna be there.
That's a fact. That is a fact. But it also comes down to when we don't know our needs, we tend to fall back on our physical need because it's like an instant gratification. But really,
Mm-hmm.
it's deeper than that. There's, I believe, like seven different needs that a human being needs based on their personality. And connection is always going to be the first one because we're humans.
Mm-hmm.
But when you don't have the rest of them, physical will even beat over connection because that's why there's men and women just out here sleeping with everybody, but there's no connection. They just need that physical need. But there's different ways you can get the physical need and the other needs that you need. So
And you know what else we got to talk about and have a show because you know what takes me to like another point where I do get sad that I see that sometimes women feel that other women in sisterhood cannot provide them a healthy connection, okay,
that is
to
a
really
fact.
get them through that need to have a man. Like some of these women are really like really need to detox. Like they have an addiction, okay,
Yes. Yep.
to having a man that is not healthy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's not
Mm-hmm.
healthy. And these women will throw everything by the wayside, you know, to have this. And so
That
it's like those
physical.
women don't really do well in like the choose better movement. And I say when it comes down to the need a man, right? I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we want men when it comes to relationships. It's not to say that they don't have a place where we need them in their necessity to society. It's not to say
Mm-mm.
that. But
Mm-mm.
when you want when you want a man, I liken it to being hungry, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you are well fed and well nourished, okay, and you are able to take your time, you got time to go, decide what you want to eat, mosey on over to a restaurant, sit down, wait for your food, like look at the menu, order what you want, wait for it to get made, and sit there and just eat your food slowly and just enjoy it, right? But when you've been out in the Sahara, okay, where there is nothing around and you are parched, there's no food, there's no nothing. Your behind could be vegan, but after not eating for 5 days and somebody puts a burger in your face, you're gonna eat it because you need it, right? It's a
That's a fact.
necessity. If you don't eat this burger, you're gonna die. And
Mm-hmm.
so these women have to learn how to date from a place of being full. Stop dating from a place of being out in the Sahara, okay, parched and hungry. Okay,
I'm
because when you are parched and hungry, you're not going to be able to do choose better in the proper way. You're going to take that burger knowing you're a vegan.
mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm. And you know
yeah.
one thing it's crazy I got to share this, but I learned this from my therapist and she said also when we've been single for a long time or we don't have anyone, in that physical, she's like when you're dating, masturbate every time before your date. I just have to say that. She was like you will think with a more clearer mind. And she was like, you won't let the lust take over. Because sometimes she's like,
I've been
women will
doing that
jump
for
into
years.
relationships just because they are looking for a physical connection. She was like, learn your body. And when you're
Mhm.
dating, do what you got to do so you can think with a clear mind on that day. I'm like, you know what? That makes sense.
And
Okay.
also
Okay.
this too. A lot of women do not know that there is actually 7 forms of intimacy, right? And
That's
what
a
we
fact.
fail to realize is that what we actually crave is emotional intimacy.
Connection.
There's
Yeah.
emotional intimacy, there's spiritual intimacy, there's mental intimacy, there's physical intimacy, there's sexual intimacy. Like these are
Yes.
all different forms of intimacy. And each
Yes.
of these forms of intimacy actually have 4 layers, 4 tiers
Mhm,
going down
mhm,
that
mhm.
strengthens your connection with people. Women settle for physical intimacy because a lot of men don't know how to give you any other form of intimacy.
Nope.
Okay,
Mm,
they don't know how. They intimate. We have to do a whole show on intimacy
we
and
definitely
really
do.
breaking that down, because this is why women find themselves in these physical relationships that they are not content with, that they are not happy in, because what you are after is these other forms of intimacy, but the only thing that he can give you is some subpar dick and maybe a nut here and there.
But a lot of women are mistaking that for emotional
They
connection.
are. They are. They are. And this is what's keeping women in these really jacked up relationships for a long time.
Yes.
Glorilla dropped that song with that guy. And the chorus was like that, something, fuck my man, he make me sick, boy ain't good for nothing but dick. It's like really toxic. Uh,
Oh God.
it's so
I think I know
toxic.
which
And
one
I
you're
was like,
talking about.
it was toxic. Me and Mr. Reloaded were listening to this song in the car, and I was like, this is some toxic ass shit. And so I said, this is not what they need to be teaching the children.
Not at
And
all.
so I'm just like, but that's the thing. There are relationships that are really out here that are really like that, and they're exhausting these women and they're depressing these women, and they just got them out here just down bad. And because her and money bag, yo, that's it. And it's because it's like, huh? Is this what we're doing? If he ain't good for nothing but dick, leave.
Thank
Get
you.
out of there. Get out of there. What are
Mm-mm.
you going back and forth for? Like, there's nothing to go back and forth for. Because you must want a love that, like, really nourishes you, that just really makes you just, happy and just makes you feel good about yourself. And it's not to say that a love is perfect. Pearl hears me fuss about Mr. Reloaded all the time. so,
Yes. Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
so literally, and we'll get into that in
Uh-huh.
another show too. But I mean, even I be fussing about certain stuff, but nothing extreme. It's just me being a fussy person. But like seriously, if you make a list, and we were talking about this earlier, Pearl, too,
Yeah.
of that list, my mother full avoidant and anxious avoidant attachment styles and things like that. My mom said, make a list of pros and cons. Okay.
Mhm.
And if the pros outweigh the cons, work on it. If the cons outweigh the pros, leave. Right. That's how you figure it out, because there's nobody that's going to be perfect at all. And you're not perfect at all. But if you're a person who's like trying to like work through your traumas and stuff like that, and certain like relationships, or you have certain behaviors in your shadow side that you're still working through, make a list that you can see and
Yep.
say, okay, is this and this and this and this and this. So, I'd just be absolutely out my freaking mind. Okay. And then if it's just really negative, it's like I'm out my freaking mind to be staying in this relationship and I need to get the fuck on. Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that helps women a lot in the choose better movement.
It really does. And
Hey,
because
women.
we've also been, we've also had to, we have this idea that a man is supposed to be perfect. And like you remember, we were talking about this earlier on the phone that our
Did you see
parents,
what you think he said?
wait, what did she say? Let me see. I don't
Oh,
understand people saying all relationships have problems, but they only been dating. I can't, I'm not. Never mind. I seriously, I'm like that too, Miss Vicky. Like this is too early. If we're arguing 30 days in,
yeah. That's like it's time to go.
we gotta
That
go.
is
We got to
automatically,
go.
you got to get up out of there.
Man,
For
I'm trying
sure,
to
you gotta
understand.
go. That's not working. 1 month is like, nah, nah,
That's too
nah.
soon. Everything should be perfect at that time.
No, you have to. He doesn't start getting on your. I want to say when did Mr. Reloaded start getting on my nerves? About 6 months in, he
Hmm.
really started getting on my nerves. Yeah. because I'm an introvert. So Mr. Reloaded is like super clingy. So Pearl has listened to me like, why won't he just go find something to do? Why won't he
Oh
wants to be
man.
with me. Like he wants to be, and he doesn't just want to be with me, y'all. He wants to be with me. Like I mean,
Mhm.
like, stay on the other side of the house. Like, okay, go
I'm trying
home.
to. Man, I'm telling you, I need separate houses, and we need a walkway in between when I get
Woo,
married.
yes.
Her house, we'll have a set time for dinner. You know what I
Right.
mean?
You need some skin in the game before someone starts getting on your damn nerves. Like you need some
Man.
skin in the game before you have problems. Like, like come on. But just 1 month in, you're not even most relationships don't make it past 3 months,
Oh,
That's statistics. Most
mm,
relationships do not make it. Most relationships break up at exactly 6 months. But the reason why I think that that's the case too is because nowadays, how people do relationships is they meet somebody they like and they just rush into this relationship thing instead of
right.
kind of taking their time, dating around,
Mhm,
making an informed decision. I
mhm.
literally took dating like buying a car. I'm going to go to several car dealerships.
But we
Look
do
at
that.
several cars. I'm gonna research the car. I'm gonna test drive the shit. Then I'm gonna leave because I need to think about it for a minute. Then I may come back.
Oh
Okay.
my
Look
goodness.
at it again. Then leave. Then
But
come
you
back
know
and
what?
buy the car.
What's what's crazy about that? We do that with everything else in our life. When we go shopping for groceries, we look through every one of them. We pick the best brand. When we, furniture, like we shop. We go to different decisions, even when we're looking for a doctor. But why is it we don't do that when it comes to relationships? But I also noticed that the Black community, we really don't know how to actually like date. Like people think dating involves sex. Cause like when I started dating, I'd be like, well, yeah, I'm dating about 3 or 4 men, and men would have a serious problem with that. And I'm like, I'm not having sex. But I noticed that we don't even know what it is to like there should be a process of elimination. You know what I mean? Like there should be options when you
No, there
don't.
really should.
I,
No, no, this is like importante because I didn't have sex with Mr. Reloaded until we actually got engaged. So, and I actually didn't stop dating. We were never boyfriend and girlfriend, Pearl. Like, we never
okay.
did that.
Yep. Yep. See?
I just could, because I just felt like you're not gonna. I think that
Exactly.
people waste a lot of time, and we're like,
Exactly.
you're not gonna waste 10 years of my life.
Right.
Now, if I was a person who never ever wanted to get married again, I could be with a boyfriend for a long time. That's fine. That's
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
Um, but if because of the fact that I knew that I probably wanted to get married and do this and that, I was just like, no, you're not gonna wait. If I get a better offer on the table, I'm taking it. I'm out. Like that'll
Thank you.
be what's gonna happen because I just don't think that it made any sense after a while. I was just like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm dating you
For a
consistently. We're
purpose.
seeing each other once or twice a week, and we're really getting to know each other. And then that time is increasing. Then okay, we're moving from there. But I'm like, if this is what you want to do, you got to make it real for me
Hmm.
because you're not going to take me off the market and waste my time. You're just not going to do
No,
that.
but that's
And
why
I
you
was
should.
upfront with each person. Like, this is what it is. I had my main person that I really, really liked a lot. But at the same time, you're not going to keep me in this purgatory sort of place where I wake up 10 years from now and I'm just like, damn, I've just been somebody's sometime girlfriend. I just wasn't going to do that.
Exactly. I mean, that's a fact. Exactly, Nini. Do not date only one
Mm-hmm.
man. And when a man knows there's
Mm-mm.
more than one man, he actually will bring his A game. When he knows he's the only one, girl, you can hang it up. Hang
Mm-hmm.
it up.
And don't get upset if a guy doesn't want to do that. That's fine.
I'll
Because
be like,
again, rejection is God's protection.
I'm
A
trying to
lot of
tell
times
you.
when you're dating men, they're dating multiple people. Even if they
Mhm.
call you their girlfriend, they're dating multiple
Multiple
people.
people. Yeah. Yeah. This one guy, but that's called serial dating. And I'm like, well, no. I mean, because you got to
Yeah.
move from the dating stage to the relationship stage, but there's dating, there's exclusive dating, and then there's relationship. But
Yeah.
We don't.
And they know you're not like having sex with multiple people. Guys are not stupid.
Thank
You telling them that, hey, I'm abstinent. That's what I am. They know you're abstinent with everyone. You're not just abstinent with them.
you.
You're abstinent with everybody. And if anything, a real guy kind of respects that more. That
He
you're
does.
abstinent and that you are valuing yourself in this way, and that you want to be clear headed in the
Mm-hmm.
decisions that you're making, because you don't want to get attached to someone based off of sexual chemistry alone, but you're not really covering the meat and potatoes of things. Is this guy a great provider? Is this
Mm-hmm.
guy someone who sees himself as wanting children? Does this guy have a problem with children that are not from his loins?
Thank
Can
you.
this guy take care of himself? Is this guy gonna ask me for $20? Mr. Reloaded never asked me for shit. Like, so
No.
like certain things, some of these other guys are gonna drop out because something's gonna happen that you're gonna see, and you're gonna say, hey, I don't actually want to date this guy anymore because I really don't like how this happened or that happened. Okay, but given
Exactly.
that time, you know, really lets you see some things, and seeing things go, and just I know Mr. Reloaded told me he's never dated somebody like me. Never. He's never dated anybody. He was used to people like, okay, we meet, we're cool, now we're in a relationship, and this and that and this and that. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, so we had something really interesting happen because the person that he was dating before me, they were dating like for some years,
Mm-hmm.
and was pissed because it's a small town, people talk,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just like, yeah, he actually proposed to, wanted to get married to this girl that he's been dating for like 7 months. And she was dating for like 10 years. Absolutely not. So when you have these kind of boundaries, ladies, I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna move. Like, they're gonna really move on it. Like, okay, hey, I feel like this is what I'm wanting to do. And, I think that our relationship, even, I don't believe you should give everything up front either. I just don't believe that. And when I'm not saying little stuff, I mean really, really, really getting in depth with emotional intimacy, like your deepest, darkest secrets, things like that. This person has to show you that they're trustworthy with this type of stuff. So I
That's a
think that the
fact.
biggest forms of like emotional intimacy, mental intimacy, spiritual intimacy that we built has happened during our engagement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That is a
Yeah.
fact. They're definitely your published first.
So they totally are. So, and and guys and men hate when I say this to ladies because it pisses them off, and I think it pisses them even more. It pisses them off even more because I got a ring out of it. So it really makes them mad because they're just like, nah, all women are gonna start doing the shit that you're talking about. And so I have all kinds of tricks and things like that. Remember, Pearl, when I told you, if
Mhm.
a guy, if that men are in like this really silent like competition with each other. So if you want to see
Oh,
the best out
yes,
of a
yes.
man, don't
Mhm,
have him compete with like another man, but actually your girlfriend that has a really great guy, go on double dates with her. Okay,
mhm.
go on double
Yeah.
dates with her, because when he sees the way that your girlfriend is being like treated by her man, and how he takes care of you and this and that and the third, he's gonna want to rise up to like be like that guy, because he doesn't want to look like the slouch compared to your homegirl's boyfriend or your homegirl's man. He doesn't want to look like that.
That's
Yeah.
true. That is true. Men are
Yeah.
very competitive.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. If they get
So you
mad,
want to
it's
see
because
that
they're the
too.
guy. That's
They're
a
not the
fact.
guy.
They're not the
Imagine,
guy.
exactly. Men value things more that they had to work for and invest in. Okay,
Oh my God,
it's
that's a
true.
fact.
They value things more that they had to work for. Okay, they put way too much in for it to go any old kind of way. So you don't
Mm,
even let some guy hit you with like some love bombing for 2 weeks and say, boom, I'm all in. Absolutely not.
mm.
Absolutely not. Okay. That's not enough for you. Okay. That's not
Like,
enough.
like,
You got to see the consistency too.
yeah. Especially if the ones their first pickup line is "I want to marry you." I like my
Yeah. That's a
skin
no.
crawls, like my
That's a no.
blood, all the hair raises. I'm like, you're a psycho. You know
Yeah.
absolutely nothing about me, and
Totally
you want
agree.
to marry.
Yeah. You can't love me. You don't even know me. Like, what's my favorite color?
I,
Food.
I could be a serial killer. I'm just saying. You
What
don't
am
know
I
what
allergic
I'm
to? Food.
about.
It's my favorite food. Food.
man. So
Especially when you're dealing with a person like me. How you gonna tell me you love me? You don't even know where you live, where I live. Because I
okay.
was hiding my address for like a long. I don't. I had to. I was keeping my home safe, so I didn't even like. If a guy was like, "Oh, I'm gonna pick you up, to
Mhm.
go on a date, y'all," I would walk way down the street, way down the damn street.
Mhm.
Like you will not know where I live, so you can't. You don't even know I live.
Right.
Like
Mm.
what are you talking about? Right?
So
So,
since you're the one that has the ring, so let me ask you this question: how soon do you think a woman should accept a ring in
I
their
accepted
relationship?
mine in 7 months.
Would you recommend that time?
It depends on the woman though. It really does. It depends on the woman. It depends on the relationship, where you think the relationship is at. And it also depends on things that have happened in that relationship too. Like if somebody was to do something horrible to me,
Hmm.
and then say, "Hey, will you marry me?" I'd say no. I don't care if that's like 6 months in, 7 months in, or whatever have you. That I would just say absolutely not on that one. I know my parents got engaged in 6 months and they were married for 14 years. So
Mm.
I wouldn't go I wouldn't go any faster than what I did though. Like to be honest, I
In
wouldn't do
seven
anything
months.
earlier
Yeah.
than 7 months.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't do anything earlier than that. So
See,
there's that.
yeah, Miss Vicky. I mean, he had a whole family. He had children, and he was out here murdering these women left and right.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And you know what? I also, Pearl, the dynamics of mine is different too for the
Yeah.
7 months. Because remember, me and Mr. Reloaded were actually around each other
For
for
90.
years actually prior to dating. So there's that.
See, but then I get confused because, like, even with Nene, I see her dad proposed in 90 days. You said your mom and dad, how long were they?
They've been
How,
married for 45 years.
or how long before he
I think
proposed to her?
my dad says a man knows what he wants when he wants it. However, they just
Hmm.
don't say anything initially. Like a man could be with a woman, he knows that she's the one in like
Okay.
30 days, but it's just them not acting on it because they're waiting to see, how much further that relationship goes. So
So
I don't know. But
how would you
yeah.
decipher between bad intentions with a man asking you to marry him in 90 days and a man that's really knows what he wants? That's where I think I
A
kind of
tough
get
one. That's the
that's
thing,
a
because
tough
that's
one.
where
Yeah.
that'd be tough for me to
Yes,
really that'd
that's
be
where my
tough.
balance is. I get you bring up marriage in the first year and I'm running. I'm like run, Forest, run. That's my but then I've seen people get married in like, 90 days.
No,
And I'm like,
no, not off a mini skirt, Nene. But that was a different time and era then too. Like
it was.
their engagements were really quick.
That's
You know,
true. That is
like
true.
they actually were really fast
Mhm,
about
mhm.
engagements and things like that. They courted a woman for like 2 months.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
seriously. So
yeah.
I don't know if it was just the culture at that time was like put a rush on it or whatever they had going on. I mean, even if you go back before that generation, the 1800s, they had a dating, marriage, engagement, and wedding all in 6 months. Like so,
I mean,
it's like
there's even some cultures where you're married before you're even 18. You don't even pick
mhm.
your husband. The family picks the husband. So, yeah, but then it's also like, but how toxic were those marriages?
Exactly. That's the thing. I said, now we're still learning about certain things that we saw. They had quick
Yeah.
engagements. They also had some of them had long toxic marriages too.
Yes,
But I
yes.
don't think I would have accepted an engagement from Mr. Reloaded in 7 months if it had not been for already, knowing each other since 2021. I don't
Okay.
think that'd been the case. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
No.
Oh, well, that
He was
makes
getting
sense.
employed to Germany too. So well that's whatever.
That
That
makes
is
sense.
that is a factor.
Yes, a major
That makes sense
factor.
too. That makes sense too. So yeah, she could have been off on with somebody else. So he was like, "Oh no, I gotta
Mhm.
lock it down before I go off here to Germany." So, so a lot of my daddy was in the military too. And I think that's also why he proposed to my mom in 6 months. Yeah, he was getting
Yeah.
stationed somewhere else. So yeah.
You get married pretty
They tend
fast.
to be really fast with the military. They be moving
Ooh.
real quick.
See, I don't, you know what? I don't know if I believe in love at first sight, but there is a show that has kind of changes my perception on that, Nini, because I don't know if you've seen Love is Blind, where it's like
Ah,
they're
I
in these,
love that
yeah, so they
show.
don't get to see each other until they actually want to marry them. So they build this relationship not seeing each other. It's strictly an emotional connection. And they actually say that marriages last as longer when you have an emotional connection over anything else because it can go through, the ups and the downs. But I'm like, how do you marry someone you've never seen before? And I think that's just because we're hang up on the physical attraction. But it's a very interesting show, and those couples are still together. They're still married. They're happy. I'm like, oh my god, that'd be a weird way to meet my husband, but I'm interested. I
I
don't
think
know.
that you know what? It's so funny. Like
Uh huh.
sometimes, and this is why I think that sometimes we have stronger bonds with people on the internet than we do
We
in real life.
do. That's
You
true. That
know,
is
we
very
build
true.
really strong, real friendships and things
Yes.
like that. And we've never been in the
Yes.
same physical space with people
That's
because
true.
that emotional connection is stronger
Hmm.
than anything else,
It
to be
is.
honest.
Oh
So
God,
I
it
was just like,
is.
I was glad to have kind of like that friendship with Mr. Reloaded first, then to actually just come right in dating first.
Yes.
Even if it wasn't like because it wasn't like a super super close friendship, but
Hmm. It was
we
a
were really
friendship.
cordial, and I respected
Hmm.
the fact that this is the time I was going through things with like the case and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so he was just like, I just knew it probably wasn't the right time to
Hmm.
ask you out. And I was like, that was a good call. And I was very impressed by that because that showed me he had emotional intelligence and he was perceptive enough and that he didn't think that it was appropriate to take advantage of me at like a downtime, like a moment where I'm really not my best self. And just to pick up on that and be like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna wait. I actually
Yes.
respect that because there's a lot of guys that are super predatory, and when you have things you're going through like grief or loss,
Oh God.
or depression, or life changes and things,
Mhm.
they're all in. That's when they're like, I gotta get you, and I gotta
Mhm.
hold
Mhm.
you, and things like that. And those guys typically are the guys who may come around and tear your damn life up.
I promise you don't even realize it because you're in a you're grieving, you're going through something. Your awareness is very low. Oh my God, Nini. Emotional connections can be too deep, if you ask me.
Too deep.
Lord.
I still fear
Man.
emotional connection sometimes. Like I go in and then I'm like,
Mm.
right there, and I'm just like, oh no, let me pull back, let me retreat, because
Flight.
because when I'm locked in, I'm locked in, right?
Man.
But
All or
I
nothing.
could really be emotionally connected to someone and not tell them for a long time too
That's
that
a
I am
fact.
actually really emotionally connected to them and like
Mhm.
really into them. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, because I just fear what people would do with that. What people would fear, what people would do with that level of vulnerability and knowing that I feel, all sorts of kinds of ways. So, I play the whole mysterious long game. So
I know my
I'll
Scorpio.
be like,
So
Misery was like, I love you. I was like, I knew I loved you 3 months ago, but whatever. Okay. you know, I still
not
gotta
gonna
play.
say
I,
it
I gotta play
first.
it cool. I gotta play it cool.
Right.
I gotta play it cool. Because I don't want
Yes.
you to know that you got me like that. Okay, I want you to know that. I had to keep that. I was definitely that person that was like, yeah, let me keep this away. So
Mhm.
you don't really know that I know or that I'm really feeling you like that. Because you might start showing your goddamn ass.
I'm
It seems
trying to
like
tell
I
you.
always felt like when I really was like, I love the guy, like that's when they would start showing their ass. Like once you change his contact name, to my baby or something like that with hearts and roses.
No,
That's
that's
when you
a
do
bit
something stupid.
cool. Now you're just deluded. Only your phone number gonna pop up
Something
now.
dumb. now that I'm
Fabulous.
now I'm really feeling you like that. Like, you got it like that. That's what dudes like to show
Girl,
their ass. Like, what
I
is wrong with you?
swear.
It's like, what happened here, man?
Oh
What
man.
happened here, yo? Like,
That's
But
true.
when I'm playing like cool, mysterious, distant girl, like that's when they're like, oh, I love you. Like, it's
All
just
in.
weird, man.
All
It's so
in.
strange. What you have to emoji?
That's
It's the
a fact.
emojis. It's the emojis that do it, man. I literally, you know what I did with Mr. Reloaded? I added one emoji at a time.
You got to. If you add too many, he gonna
God,
act a
man.
fool in the
You
next
can't
hour.
add all emojis at one time. He gotta earn his emojis.
Oh man, that's
I'm
a
telling
fact.
you, might even get you a cute little ringtone.
Okay.
You gotta work for it. Okay, you gotta work for that. And I don't believe in giving men like full access to me until they've earned that. I think that sometimes you
Mm.
talk to a guy, and as soon as y'all start talking, they just think they're supposed to have 100% access to you. That y'all supposed to be on the phone all day. That you ain't supposed to have nothing else going on with your life, and that y'all just supposed to see each other every day. I really don't give. I didn't give that access either. Like, no, stay on your level, right? Stay,
Mhm. Mhm.
stay right here. Okay, because
Yeah.
sometimes this is how people keep finding themselves. Women keep finding themselves in situationships because of this. Because literally, this is a relationship that y'all are not calling a relationship. And I literally learned that. I mean, y'all watch me learn that live on YouTube. So
Mhm. Okay.
y'all
Yes,
watch me
we
learn that
did.
shit in real time.
Mm.
That you just gotta limit access. You cannot give your just full access and attention, and care, to these guys so readily and so easily. We can be so freely giving
We are
of
as women,
ourselves. What
and
you
that's
giving?
and that's why a lot of men. That's why men stop marrying. That's I feel. Why I was raised on this saying, why buy the cow if I can get the milk for free? So I am very big on the girlfriend duties and wife duties. Okay. I know the difference. You're not going to get wifey duties a year into the relationship. I don't have no ring. That's how women end up being with men for 10, 15 years because you're washing their clothes, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're managing his finances, you're buying homes together.
And they're
You
doing this to get a
like,
ring. And it's like, he's like, well, we're
yes,
already married.
we
So
do
what's the point?
it.
Men are so simple in that way. We're
I
already
promise
married. So
you.
what's the point? There's no levels to this. Like, there's
There's
no growth to this. All right. Look, Netflix doesn't let you access everything if you don't buy a certain membership package. Okay, so I
exactly.
be doing this shit like a subscription service. Like,
I'm
you gotta
for
subscribe
real.
if you want more features. Like,
And then
you
and then there's
can.
men who will say, "Well, why would I ask you to marry if I don't know what I'm going to get as a wife?" That's the potential. My girlfriend abilities will show you the potential of what I will be as a wife, honey. You're not going to get it before,
Nope,
okay?
and I
Because
leave those guys alone because that's a
man, that
stingy
instant
haggler. You do not want to deal with a guy that's a stingy haggler. That's a
no,
stingy
no,
haggler all day
no,
long. His
no.
ass wants to haggle with you and shit. Like, you are not a fucking flea market. Stop letting people haggle with you. Okay?
Yeah.
Either you know or you don't know. Now that's the positive sides to my all or nothing and my attachment style. Because I'm gonna leave you right where you're at. And I think that sometimes men don't realize, and this is why I tell women, continue dating, because the fact of the matter is, um, there's someone who could really treat you better than this guy that you set your sights on because he's your favorite dude. They got this thing, that's my favorite nigga. Okay, but sometimes your favorite really don't even deserve to be your favorite in comparison to the meat and potatoes and long-term things that actually matter. Can this
At
guy
all.
build a lifestyle for you that is comfortable? Can this guy provide certain things for you that you want? Can this guy be there for you? I said one time on a TikTok show, I said, if you call your favorite guy and tell him you're having some kind of emergency and see how he reacts to it. If he does not react to this with caring and that he's got to move and he's got to do something about this emergency, block his ass. Now,
On
block him
site.
on site. Block it. Because these are the things you got to see before you decide a person's your boyfriend. Like, seriously. Because some people just instinctively, oh my gosh, hey,
Yes,
you
yes.
okay? You good? Like, you straight?
Mhm.
I said, because then you're going to end up somewhere and you're going to be in a serious situation. Maybe your tire blows out. Okay. And if he's not trying to help figure out the situation, oh man, I hope everything okay. Don't talk to him no more. And you don't want to find this out in a really inconvenient time that this
Right.
guy that you've been building this connection with ain't really down for you like that when it counts. When it
Mm-hmm.
counts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact. And I was also raised you if a man lets you pump your own gas, he can never be your husband.
there's certain things
Okay.
that men there's certain things men
Okay.
shouldn't be comfortable doing.
That just shouldn't be comfortable doing.
He shouldn't be comfortable. I don't
No.
believe that a man should be comfortable asking you for
Mm-mm.
$20. I
No.
don't believe that.
You're right. You're
I
right.
don't
Especially,
believe
Hey, Miss
that.
Vicky, how are
hey,
you?
Hey,
hey,
Happy
y'all.
Rookie.
You were telling the story, and it just made me think about, at my job, this young lady I work with, her father-in-law and her mother-in-law were never married, never, 30 years. And
Wow.
he was a truck driver, and he met some hot mama in Texas, and he decided after their kids are grown, like they're in their early 30s, okay?
Mm.
And as she start, they're getting older, and she has a little mental problems and stuff, but they've been together like 30 years. And he kicked that lady out, y'all. And she went to lawyers and everything trying to see if he can, something that she didn't want to live with her kids. Like the kids were like, Mom, you can stay with us, blah, blah, blah. She stayed with a friend anyway. Within a year, that lady was dead. She caught COVID and died. And that motherfucker then moved. That he didn't even give her time to understand. Like he was getting married on like Monday or Tuesday, something like that. And he kicked her out on Friday, like the new wife was coming.
Mm.
And girl, I cried, okay, at work. So that's why it's important.
It's
Don't
very
never give your
important.
life away to a man like that.
Mm-mm.
And she was
Mm-mm.
saying, girl, my mother-in-law went to a lawyer, and it was nothing that man owed her. She had like 3 or 4 kids from him, and
Mm-hmm.
when I say they were together like 30 years, they were.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she got
30
nothing.
years.
Yes, she got
And
he didn't owe her nothing.
see, and that's why my mom was big on telling me that because she used to be like, you stay the girlfriend. Something happens to this man in the street, and let's say he has to be on life support. His family can come through and say, pull the plug. There might still be life in that man. You know what I mean? She was like,
Yeah.
you're literally like you're living with a man that if anything happens, even to you, there's nothing.
Yeah, it's protection on both sides. That's why I say it's a
Yes.
protection for the man too. And that's why
Mhm.
even whether you believe in like gays being married and stuff, like, officially married, it was still very important for them to get that,
Yes.
like what do you call it? That contract they had when they were for each other. It was before
Mm.
the marriage. I forgot what it was called. But
Uh, I know what you're
but
talking
it
about.
was important because especially when AIDS and all that stuff was coming out, and
Mm.
when people were dying, and because they weren't married or had no legal contract, partnership contract, their families were coming and forcing their partner, out the
Yeah.
door, the
Yeah.
person who they loved and adored, or making
Mhm.
them sell property and all kind of stuff, the families who
Yes.
had nothing to do with it. So you most definitely, men or women, it is a protection for you,
It really
because
is.
that lady, I swear, that was the saddest shit I had ever heard in my life.
Mm.
And there's a
Like,
lot of women who are finding that out like the hard way that
Mhm.
being in these girlfriends, and not all states respect common law. They don't.
Mhm.
Okay,
but
not when it comes to.
common law is for the benefit of a child.
That's it.
When
Mhm,
you read those common law, because I've read several common law,
mhm,
marriage laws, and it's really not about you being like a wife. It's really like if you have a child,
Mhm.
it's really
Mhm.
for the protection of the child, not the woman.
No.
So,
No.
that common law shit ain't nothing, because that lady thought she was married, common law married. And
Mm-mm.
she got nothing. Okay. When I
Mm.
tell you, he didn't even say, let me set you up. Now he has no relationship with his kids, and he has he don't even, he act like he don't even understand why, you know.
Wow.
But and if
30
I was
years.
that lady, I would have never married him. I
Mm-mm.
like I wouldn't have done that. But yeah, she thought that the common law marriage, that she had some kind of rights. She had none.
Nothing. It doesn't stand in the
Nothing.
court of law. That's a fact. Oh,
Yeah, so I'm gonna always tell that story, okay,
mhm.
when subjects like
Please.
this come up. But
Yeah.
I gotta go because I'm at work.
All right,
I'm in
hon.
the audience.
Yes, yes. That's a fact, Nini. And make sure you pay attention to finances. I was just telling my cousin that because she is
Ooh, paying
guy
attention to the finances is
for 50
important.
years and he
Okay.
just bought a whole like apartment building and he did not put her name on it and they're not married. And I said, but she does have his child. And he's like, well, I left it to the daughter. And I'm like, she's like 6. So like if anything happens to him, who's going to be able to like you're living in a home. If you could be put out, a lot of women like they don't get their name on nothing. The business,
Nothing.
the bank accounts, nothing.
I mean,
Like
I'm confused watching these women do things that I'm just like, y'all are out y'all minds. They're building businesses with boyfriends. They're
woo,
buying and purchasing homes with
man,
boyfriends. Like, what are y'all doing?
like life,
you
life
know?
decisions. Like
I mean, life decisions, big, major. Stop building your life with a boyfriend. That's not someone you build your life with. That's not someone that you make these heavy investments with. Okay,
yes, yes.
because it gets pretty nasty and civil.
Hmm. Oh
Trying
man.
to figure this out, and especially if you have a business, you either have to learn how to work together on this business, or you have to have the money to buy him out of that shit. Okay, and that's only if he's willing to be bought out.
I mean,
Okay,
I've seen husbands buy their own wives out. So imagine a girlfriend.
yeah. Like, I
Forged
mean,
their
seriously.
signature on the business and ran off with everything. So like,
Yes,
girl,
bought land, and it's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this stuff?
man.
Like, this doesn't make any sense at all. And
Mm.
also, men know what they have to do. They have to take care of you. I've said before, I'm in an age gap relationship. So at any given time, that you could be taken from this world, and already Mr. Reloaded has a life insurance policy, and I'm the beneficiary of it. He has quite a few of them, but he literally opened another one. Hey,
Mm.
if something happens, then this goes to you. Okay. And this is something he can legally change if we don't get married. And things like that. But like, he actually thinks, a man who really cares about you is going to think about this type of shit.
Yes, he
Okay.
is.
They're going to really consider all the variables and factors of things. Okay. And also, that's important too, because I know what type of health he in. And what type of health conditions he got going on, because he had to take a physical and all of
Oh
this
yeah,
different stuff.
yes.
Because the nurse and the purse thing. Okay, when you're a younger lady and you're marrying a guy that may be older than you, there are some guys out here who are trying to hustle. We calling it nurse with a purse. They're looking for a younger woman to take care of them, when they get older and whatnot. And you get left with if you marry them, you get left with all the medical expenses. You get left with everything,
Hmm.
that they have, their debts, all of that different stuff. You need a health physical. You need to see his credit report. Like, these are important shit that you need to know. Okay, his kids, he got child support orders. You need to know all this. Okay, you need to know all of this, because there's a lot of women who are out here getting married just to get married, just to say they got married, and they don't know, the various different legalities and things like that. Okay, the important things that matter like that, and him actually having provisions and things left for you in his absence to make sure you are all right. Okay, that's important.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah, you got to make sure. My grandmother was like that. My grandmother was set for life when my grandfather passed. I had a lot of examples of things, that happened. Heck, my daddy got provisions for me when he passed. So
Hmm.
it's certain things that men that really care about you are really gonna think to do.
Hmm.
Okay, that are really gonna make sure happens. And he has it. Mr. Reload is pretty organized. He has everything. Of this goes to his kids. This goes to me. This goes to this person, that person. Like, he's pretty organized about it, and went and did these things, with an attorney. Okay.
That's what's
So,
up.
and life insurance supersedes a will, guys. So know that too. Okay.
Mm.
All right. That's important. Well,
I know that's right.
yeah. Be on your shit now. Be on your shit. Don't be sitting up there. But the qualifying of the guys is the important part. That's the first thing. If this guy is serious, he's gonna do what he has to do. He is. You're not gonna have to force him to do anything. You're not gonna have to beg him, plead him, nothing. Okay, you want to deal with somebody who knows, what they want from the beginning for himself. Okay, a lot of women out here are having to walk a guy through being the right man for them. Life is not that hard. Life is a lot more simple than that. Okay. Yeah. They're gonna make sure you're okay if anything happens. They get us confused with that all the time with the 50-50 talk, and we'll have a whole conversation about that. I told them, I said it would not be the feminists and womanists that are going 50-50 with a man. It be them pick me's.
Yes, yes, it does.
They be trying to put that shit on us. It don't be us. It be them pick me's. Like that's not us doing that. That's them. Okay, that's them. They'll be sitting up. All these women on TikTok, they have us put into different categories, and they're like traditional women versus modern women. All these traditional women, which traditional is supposed to be representative of a woman who's like a stay-at-home wife that's being taken care of by the husband and is like subservient, submissive to her man, and the man leads the house and shit. Every single one of them is fucking working. Contributing to the life. Every single one of them. So I was like, we have to change this terminology. So then we came up with modern and medicinal. Okay. And whichever one leads, if you're more traditional in the finances, you're modern, right? And if you are more of the 50-50 working this and that, but you still hold certain traditional values, it's medicinal. Okay. So we had to change that shit. I said, because y'all can't be running around here out here saying y'all traditional and y'all is going to work. Like y'all working, y'all putting in on on the major expenses of the household. Like, no.
I'm not paying the rent.
That's not correct.
I'm not paying rent. I don't care. I'll split.
That exactly. Like I said,
man pays the rent. I don't care.
Exactly. That's how my daddy is, Nene. He don't want to put no added hardship on his children when he passes, so he done already paid for his stuff too. Especially with him being a police officer, he could pass in the line of duty. Certain stuff like that. So he done mapped all this different stuff out. So these are the men that I've seen and how they get down. And I just knew that I was like, I gotta find a guy that's like my dad, like that actually thinks about these different things, that actually considers these various different factors and variables and whatnot. And getting into these men in their own childhood, like they childhood stuff. What kind of family do you come from? Who his people's is? If he comes from a dysfunctional family, then what are the things that he's learned from that, right? What are some of the things that, because I know a guy that I dated once, he was a really wonderful guy, but he came from a family where he seen his dad knocking his mom's head between the washers and dryers. And so that made him very anti-DV because of that, So there are certain things that you really have to know in regards to this person. What are their views on fatherhood, right? How do they feel about being a father? Every person can make a kid, but some of these guys really don't want to be fathers, and you could have known that before you gave them a kid. Okay. Yeah. It's certain things, man.
They can be the hands-off father, they can be with the children, but they don't have any type of emotional connection. They're not present. They're just there to provide. I need you to have the connection and the finances. I need them together. Not separate. Because that raises children that they will just date people that will only provide for them, but they lack that emotional connection. So
yes. So you want to consider all of those things, and also you want to consider a man and what his expectations are of you as a woman. Okay. I said I'm not gonna be sitting somewhere slaving away my days cooking and cleaning all the time. When I do this, when I cook, okay, Mr. Reloaded is appreciative of that because he doesn't view that as my duty and my job. Okay. Where I have to have dinner made as soon as he get home. No, I do that because I care, not because, I'm a man and after a long, hard day of work. Sometimes he bring his ass in after a long, hard day of work and he cook dinner for everybody.
Okay. I mean, that's what's changed a lot. I think that era because I was raised with a mother like that, we were supposed to do everything, cook, clean, take care of the kids. And it's just like, I felt like that era is what created pick me's. And I'm not a pick
It
me.
did.
We're both
It
working,
did. It
we're both
did.
cooking, we're both washing clothes. You got the clothes, I got the dishes. You got the dishes, I got the counters. Like, this
Right.
is 50-50 here,
Mhm.
just not on the
Cause
rent.
they be thinking 50-50, but they be doing 50% of the financial obligations of the
Thank
household, but
you.
100% of the household labor. What is wrong with you? And I'm
Mm-mm.
just like, so you both work a 40-hour work week, then you come home, he kicks his feet up
Mhm,
and
mhm.
chills while you then have to do all the house caretaking and all the caretaking of the children. Absolutely not.
No, no, but don't
Absolutely
get
not.
me
You,
wrong, there's some women that like to be housewives. So, different strokes for different folks. There's some women that just want to stay at home, cook, clean, look pretty, take care of the kids. I'm not a housewife. I'm a career woman. So, I have
mhm.
to find a man that aligns with I have the mentality of a career woman, a business owner. I don't have one of a housewife. Mm-mm. We can hire a maid. Hire us a maid.
No, absolutely. No, they know seriously. There and then we've established that there's a difference between a housewife and a woman of leisure.
Mm,
Okay, a woman
mm.
of leisure does what she wants. Okay, whether it's running
Okay.
her businesses and all of that different stuff, and
Yes.
they hire help. I had an argument with these manosphere dudes, and they sat up here and they were just like, "Yeah, we want women of the 1950s." I said, "Do you mean black women of the 1950s or white women in the 1950s? You always got to establish that first. Which one are you talking about?" Okay. Then so that's the first one. Because if he say black women in the 1950s, he's looking for a mule. Get out of there. Good day. Good day.
You know what?
Go.
I never thought of that, but that's a good way to look at it because the white women were living the soft life, honey. They
They
was
were
living
living
the
the
soft
soft life,
life.
and not only that. So when he says white women, he says, "Oh yeah." You break down the history to him. He says white women. Okay, for white women didn't actually do all of these domestic tasks because they had black women doing it for them. No. So, so you have to be like, which tradition are we talking about? Which form of tradition are we talking about? Then once you figure that out, okay, where's my maid? Where's my nanny? I need a housekeeper. I need a
Oh
nanny.
my
I need a cook.
God. That is
I
such
need-
a fact. That is
so
such
that when I do these things, they are always therapeutic and I want to do them. And that is that. Like that. So when I cook, my meals are always made with love because I'm cooking because I want to, not because I actually have
Mhm.
to, because he will bring his ass in here and cook. Or I can say, babe, order this or stop at this place and bring this. Like, uh, I'm not doing any of that. And fortunately, which we'll get into more of this too when we're talking like tips and tricks of the trade, because
Right.
I'm a woman who just does not cope with stress well.
I'm a damsel
As
in
a
distress.
damsel in distress who cannot fathom coping with so many tasks on me all the time. I am not a strong black woman. I'm not. I'm not. Okay. It
I'm so
sends me to the
serious.
hospital and it brings health ailments to my life. Okay. Because I am that. All right. Mr. Reloaded knows not to put too many tasks and things like that on me and tries to make sure that I am stress free. Okay. So do not. Don't be going into things trying to be all that down.
Right.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That's important too. You guys want to sit up here? We'll do a whole show about that. Provider man. Okay. You work because you love to work. You like it. This is what you love to do. Everything you do is because you love to do it and you like to do it. Don't be out here living a life. Okay. Because you feel like this is what is expected of you. This is how you are expected to be. Hell, get you a man that these other men out here call simps. All right, get you
Mm.
one of them and
Yes.
keep it moving and live your best life.
Yes.
Whew, whatever shall I do, Pearl? That reminds me when Mr. Reloaded comes through the door, I gotta faint. Whew,
I'm done with you.
I gotta fall
I
out on the
gotta
floor.
pass out real
Whew.
quick.
It was so much to do today.
Oh man. I tell you, this is a good
Oh, whatever shall I do? I bet I'll be at the spa tomorrow.
man. That's very true. There's something with the woman needs help that makes a man like, you gotta help.
You can help me.
I can't stand her.
Nene, don't that shit work? It worked. Every woman was like, it works. And when if you have like a true provider man, that shit fucking works. It's
Yeah.
just, oh my gosh. Oh, it was
Mm. But then there's
yeah.
also a downside, ladies, because then it'll get to the point where they feel like you can't even scratch your damn nose without their damn help. Okay?
True.
Like, hold on, can I do this? It's all right. I'm not gonna break a sweat. I promise. I just want to rub your
I'm
head.
telling you. Yeah, and then they will get frustrated. They do. They
Yeah.
will get frustrated and pissed off if they see you do something that they probably felt like they should have helped you do. So stay
Okay.
in character.
She said, "Stay in character." That's right.
Stay on code, okay? Stay on code, man. Stay on code. I just tend to the children. I tend to all of the things, my social medias and things that I like. But as soon as he comes in the door, oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
I gotta check around the corner and see if he's around. Okay, I can reach the top of the refrigerator. Make sure the coast is clear before I open a jar.
That's right.
But don't let them see you do. Don't let them see you do it. Though you gotta wait till the coast is clear. Remain. And he said, "Don't forget to remain on code. Remain on code. Remain on code. Okay, but never stop making your own money because you gotta have your own money. You know, you just never know. Anything could happen." But like seriously, oh my God, I just have so many bills and it's just so stressful.
Oh man.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have. And then I always say this. I'm just gonna have to probably get another job. And he's like, "Oh no, babe, don't get the job." You have to
I
do
can't.
it. Remain on code. Remain on
For real.
code, man. Remain on code. Okay,
Okay.
that's how you gotta do it. Okay, but first you gotta make sure you got the right guy. Okay,
Yeah.
you got the right guy first, and be like, "Oh no, that's awful. You poor thing." And it works, you know. We'll do a whole show about that, and it really does work. Let a man be a man.
Yeah. And sometimes that's what women don't realize when we don't do that, then it allows them to get comfortable. We have to allow a man to be a man.
Because
Sometimes
then
it's
these women are
hard.
going to be overwhelmed, and the
Mhm.
reason why you're overwhelmed is not because this guy like really sucks ass. It's because you led him to believe that you got it.
That's true. That's very true. When we
Sometimes they have to take responsibility for these things, girl. They do. They got to take accountability.
and it's hard,
Right?
especially coming from being a single mother where you had to do everything, you
Mhm.
know, finding accepting help always sometimes comes with stuff. And so we kind of like, we push it away, but sometimes we gotta act like we helpless.
Mhm.
We do.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I have to get out of that because initially that's how I was. Like, oh, I gotta control everything. I have to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was just like, "What are you doing? Like, I'm here. I can help you do this. Okay, like, let me help you do this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Go sit down somewhere. Sit down." Okay, girl, I sat
Yeah.
down. But let me tell you something. I was like Rosa Parks, girl. I had to sit down for a cause.
I can't see you. I had
To
to
sit
sit
on
down
down.
for the
I had to
pause.
sit down for freedom.
Mm.
Just had to sit down. And so I was like, you know what? You're right. And I would have conversations with my mom like that. She's like, I get it. You're programmed to be this way. And this is why I tell men this. Y'all be programming these women to be all
They
masculine. You
really
say you don't
do.
like how masculine they are, but
Hmm.
you program them to be masculine because you do have a lot of guys out here that are like, well, you got it. You can do it.
Hmm.
You this, you that. And if that's not the way in which you see your life, like again, there's some women who really enjoy that, you know? But if that's not what you want, you gotta go about it in a different way. You do, for
And
sure.
also, as women, we're also programmed that to seek help, especially Black women, is a
Mm-hmm.
form of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Form of weakness.
Oh, absolutely, Nina. You must lavish the appreciation. You do.
You got to. You
You
got to.
gotta lavish the appreciation. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. You gotta lay it on thick. Okay, you really do. Everything it has to be words of affirmation, positive affirmation. Okay, and acknowledgement of what they do. Like when they do things, you need to acknowledge it. Okay, you really do. You need to show that you noticed it, that you saw it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
um, because everyone likes that. Everyone likes to be seen, you know. And men crave closeness to the same degree that women do. And I think sometimes women don't know that they crave closeness and they crave affection and that they crave being seen and heard. Right,
Mm-hmm.
child. One of the biggest things I had to learn how to do was shut the hell up.
Hmm. I know that was hard for you.
It was hard. It was so tough.
That was so tough.
Because I'll debate
Man.
something down to the ground. And so I had to learn to just be like, okay, babe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I know, right? I'll let this one go. All right.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right. Okay. Like, okay. Okay. I remember one time because my daddy taught me like how to fix cars and stuff. And one time I slipped out of code because one of the cars was overheating. My ass grabbed some damn tools and was up under the hood. I was
Oh,
up
you
under the
definitely
car.
slipped out of.
I was
No, ma'am.
way off the whole problem.
No, you definitely came out of code on that one. Damn.
I was up under the car, y'all. And then I
Oh.
remembered and then I said, oh, ouch, I hurt myself. That's how I bounced back and recovered. And he said, oh my gosh, let me get you from underneath this car.
I can't.
But I knew what was wrong with it.
No, I don't touch cars. No, man. That's when my
Ooh, child.
comes out. I don't know what to
My
do.
bad.
Mm-mm.
And I told my mom was cracking up. She said, no, you did not. She said, because I remember you out there, your daddy, fixing all them cars in the yard. She was like, what was wrong with the car? I was like, the water pump.
The water pump?
It was a water pump.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
so I was just waiting, when we was out there with the mechanic to make sure the mechanic said the correct thing. So,
Mhm.
so then he could have walked away and I could have been like, that it's this, right? This is the problem.
Yes, she definitely pulled out of character.
I dropped
What did you do? A drug in
character.
the car?
But I felt like, Diddy, I had a good save. I was like, but I had slipped up. I did a little backslide. Okay, I did a little backslide.
You're probably gonna be
So
like,
he
why
came
you
out
dressed
and
like
he was like, he came out and he looked down. He's like, what are you doing underneath the car? And I was like, oh, my arm. Oh, my arm. I had to get it together. I had to get that shit together real quick because, I forgot. There was plenty of times in my single motherhood that I had to, fix some cars on my own. So, I was like, look, okay, so certain things I have to wait. I want things done like right now. I'll be like, no, let me wait. Okay. So that he could just come do it. Because if he sees that, he's like, what is this? What are you doing? So, it's an adjustment, man. So it's a give and take, y'all. It is. So, anywho, we're getting ready to close this out. We are coming up on 2 hours. We're gonna keep it here. We enjoyed y'all.
Yes,
Pearl,
we
you got
do.
any closing out thoughts to say?
No, not too much. Thanks everyone for tapping in and joining the conversation today. Ladies, we're going to be working on our self care and just mindfulness so we attract better and manifest better into our lives. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Absolutely, absolutely. This was so much fun. This
Yes,
was a lot of fun. I
yes,
really
it
enjoyed
was.
it.
Yes.
Definitely different from like the regular stuff. When getting
Yeah.
away from the regular stuff is always
No, we're
fun.
gonna be talking about
Woo.
ourselves over here, honey. Every now
That's
and
what
then
we're gonna be talking about.
we come
Okay.
outside for the messiness, but
Talking
in the
about girl stuff.
meantime, we'll be loving on us. See you.
And I did make that post where I said self care is also taking a break from YouTube drama.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Taking a
Yeah.
break. Taking a break.
All right.
Anywho, bye
Bye, y'all.
y'all.